Hey, it's Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals. Welcome to my almost set up workspace. Should be finished probably after Thanksgiving. I've been having a bit of a shelf debacle, so I'm ordering more of those shelves. We can't really see it for this part of the room. So, anywho, getting settled in nicely. So I am testing out different filming areas at my house. So I have the living room studio set up. So now I'm working on being able to do videos in my office, etc. So anyways, this is another video in the Spiritual Awakening series. Centered fully. I have my current listing of videos to record for the series is about 33 deep. So I best get to recording because that's going to take me a while to get through. But what I've been trying to do with this series is really kind of go very in depth about the types of things you will experience when you're going through or through the various stages of spiritual awakening. And that can last a lifetime. So, I mean, it might take a couple incarnations to get through it all, to be honest. Just depends kind of how far along you are, how much progress you make every lifetime. So anyways, so the first thing I really wanted to talk about is the early stage spiritual seeking and to kind of look into that a little bit more in depth. So this is something that can happen at any age. You could be like already, you could be retired and just hitting that spiritual seeking part of the awakening, or it might come to you much earlier in life. For me, I feel like it's something that's kind of ebbed and flowed throughout various parts of my life. So, very early on, as I've mentioned multiple times in other videos, is what I was looking, the things I was interested in as a child. And that, I was, just sort of the TLDR of it is I was born Byzantine Catholic, which is sort of the Eastern European Catholic, which is different than Roman Catholicism. However, we converted to Roman Catholicism when I was about 6 or 7 years old, maybe 8. Probably something in that range. So not kind of to get into the differences of those particular sects of Christianity, but it never really did anything for me. Even as a child, I was just like, this is boring. Nice little stories, whatever. I never really thought about belief. Is God real? Is Jesus real? Is, any of these things. Now, there's different experiences I've had in my life with the spirit world and stuff like that. Like I remember very vividly, I think as a child, I don't know if I was praying to or talking to like Archangel Gabriel, I believe, as a child. So I would have been pretty young. I would have been like 4 or 5. So, it's ebbed and flowed. I've never found the dogma of Western organized religions to really hit for me. I don't really like to be told what to do. I like to explore and come up with my own ideas and my own interpretations of things, not just the because I said so of it all. I have a lot of problems with that. So, yeah. So what happens with that is now, I went to Catholic school from 3rd grade till I graduated high school. So, and through that, like, I would say like through, even though I had my spiritual experiences and my interest in the occult from a very young age, I kind of took the Catholicism thing as a grain of salt. I was just like, this is boring, but whatever, I'm stuck here. So make the best of a bad situation. I wasn't particularly, indoctrinated in it fully. I mean, maybe to some extent, but yeah, those are all things I got over by the time I was 15. I don't want to go into it too much in depth because of shadow banning and YouTube censors, and you can't say words. But anyways, so I really hit the first kind of milestone in my awakening when I just was like, this is bullshit. When I was about 15, 16, in that range, I was like, this is bullshit. And I self-excommunicated myself because I was like, I do not accept this. I do not accept it because I say so with it all. I do not accept. I'm like, nice story, bro, but not for me. And then was a giant pissant for the rest of the remaining 2 years in Catholic school. So it started with this seeking and I can see in the things that I wrote, if you are interested in some of that, it's in the Occult Origin Story series, where I was definitely seeking at the time. Like I was looking for answers. I was looking for some kind of connection, spirituality, and moving through my, pre-internet teenage understanding of the universe we live in and different spirituality and things like that. So I think that was the first milestone, was that process there. And then the thing is, when you're seeking, you're going to dabble, you're going to do a lot of research. You might go down a couple crazy paths. Hopefully you don't end up in a cult. But some of what I want to point out with the spiritual seeking part of it is you really need to seek for yourself. I'm just going to give you, my experience here. You don't need to model your awakening experience after mine. I'm just kind of here to talk about what I've experienced, what you may experience, and how to navigate it, or based upon how I navigated it. And I am all about finding what works for you in your practices and in your life. And I have been guilty of this myself at times, where it's when you're seeking, sometimes you follow and you pick people to follow based upon any number of circumstances, any number of reasons, whether there's someone who is a community leader in their field, an author, a guru type. So looking at that, and what I've seen from that from observation, from direct experience, is that, and I don't mean this to be offensive, but you're going to go through a phase of your spiritual seeking where you are a sheep. You are following the herd. You're following sometimes very toxic bullshit guru cult leaders and stuff like that. It's part of the process. You will be a sheep. Don't delude yourself and think that you're a wolf already. You're not. You are as much of a wolf as Corey is a tiger, lion, monster kitty. So put your delusions of being the wolf aside for now. You need to go through the process of being a sheep. No one is born into like the upper echelon level of spiritual awakening. I would even doubt that of a lot of religious leaders as well. I don't think the Pope was born popely or whatever. Even the Dalai Lama, it's yes, some of these things are cultural traditions and stuff like that and passed down. I spent more on the Dalai Lama side of it. I don't know the whole process for that, so I don't want to misspeak. But I think that enlightenment is something you are constantly, you're working at it, sometimes not consciously, but other times very intentionally. So it's okay to follow, because that's how we sort of get comfortable in our shoes. Some of us learn by observation, by doing, by mimicry. There's not a problem with it, but you need to accept that aspect of it, and that there's nothing wrong with it, because it's part of the process. We all have followed other people in this process, whether it's someone we know, whether it's, a community leader, etc. So what do you do with that? Well, what I would say here, that the danger of being a sheep is that sometimes there are people that are out there that are unscrupulous, that are going to lead you astray, that are going to, how do I put this? There's people that claim to be awakened and ascended and reached apotheosis and whatnot. Look at their lives. That is going to be a clear indicator of that. And if they're walking around go, we're the chosen ones, and you can't question them, you can't deviate from that. Hi, that's cult behavior. Proceed with caution, or don't. Like, maybe not follow that. And when you're in this process of seeking, one of the best things that you can do is talking to other people, like-minded people. It's much easier now than it was when I was 15. You've got YouTube, you've got all the social media stuff. There's a resurgence. I'm actually surprised, where I moved out of the city expecting not to have any community at all, and it turns out there's a much larger community outside the city than there was inside the city. So, anywho. So, when you're seeking, how do you find the answers? Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. No one person can tell you it all. You can't fast track the process. You need to experience it. You need to do your research. Like, you might go down one path and realize, hey, maybe this isn't the right thing for me. Let's, course correct and, explore another aspect. You might start off at Wicca because that's what's accessible to you, and then realize that Wicca is not for you. And you might be more like attuned to chaos magic or the left-hand path, or things like that. So it's okay to experiment, and okay to, Corey is bringing us a mouse as tribute. So hail Corey Hunter Kitty. Anyways, so what you want to do in those cases is, take advice from people. There are a lot of really great people. And, never accept that one person knows all the answers, because it's good to get different perspectives on things and to discern. While you can look at one book and say, hey, this, 90% of this resonates with me, these kind of points don't. Take what works for you, leave the rest. That's the best I can say with that. Like, even the worst book might have a little nugget of wisdom in it that makes the 99% of it that's terrible okay. Okay, I got this one thing out of this book. It isn't a total waste of my time. But your learning process never ends. And this is a big one, especially if you are in that phase in which you're seeking and following other people, because a lot of times you're going to gravitate towards content creators on YouTube or social media, or authors or community leaders and members and things like that. Please do not demand emotional labor from them. We are here I use my platform, I use my channel to espouse, my thoughts on things, this information, to disseminate it widely. I am not going to take on the emotional labor of teaching the whole of witchcraft for free. I have a lot on my plate at any given time, and I hate to paywall things, but sometimes you got to paywall them. I see this a lot, where people demand the emotional labor from influencers, content creators, all of that. You want to know how we all learned and got to where we are? We took courses, we read books, some of us joined different organizations. I'm more of a solitary practitioner. I mean, I'll work with other people at times, but I'm not particularly interested really in being in a coven. I don't want to start a coven because I don't know. I'm one of those people, I hate being in leadership positions, but I always get thrown into leadership positions, and I don't always like it. I'm not always good at it. It depends who on the neurodivergent side is writing, who's behind the wheel that day. ADHD likes the attention of it, I guess, or is okay with being in the spotlight. Autism just kind of like, I don't know. No, I don't like this. I'm going to go over here. So, and forget depression. They don't want to talk to anyone. So you might find that covens work for you. You might find working, in a non-structured way with multiple individuals. I have a lot of people I talk to, I work with. I always want to learn more. And if someone's offering an apprenticeship or mentoring things, by all means, I would say follow that. I would say, look into that. I mean, not everyone is a good teacher. Not everyone is going to teach you anything. That some people are a little too, what's the word I'm looking for? They're still a little too ego driven on their path and haven't kind of transcended that. So a lot of times you're subscribing to ego manifestation more than you are to the awakening process. So, that said, it's a whole new world out there. There are so many YouTube videos. Granted, the algorithm sucks right now, but you can find so much information out there, and it's so easily accessible. And a lot of it is free. There are tons of pagan-oriented blogs now. There's tons of websites that have so much information. There's YouTube and social media groups and all of that. It can be daunting at first, but that will help you at least start building your practice, working your way through your spiritual awakening. I can't wake you up for you. That's going to happen or not. And if you're relying 100% on other people to do the work for you, I'm sorry, you're probably not going to hit enlightenment and awakening in this incarnation until you move past that. Now if that's a temporary phase. I mean, I have people do work for me sometimes because I don't have the time to, or something's just outside of my wheelhouse. So, and also it's sometimes good to just have someone, catching what you're not, because they might see something. Like, I hate doing tarot for myself because I'm just going to read into it to get the answers I want. So I'll either do one of two things. I'll do a reading and take a picture of the spread to a friend and be like, here's what I see in this. What do you think? So that's one way to do it, or just to have other people do the readings for you entirely. That is okay. We can't all do everything, but your spiritual awakening process is about 100% you. Now, you'll learn from other people along the way. And what I can tell you in that is, be careful who you follow. Look at, I have a lot of videos on here talking about occult community issues. Reputation matters. If you're looking at a group where, there's so much drama around this group all the time and every single person that's involved in it, that's a red flag, and you might want to avoid that. Wish I did, but I digress. I can't always poo-poo things, even when I've had bad experiences within them, because I got something out of it. And it was, a signpost along the way on my journey. When I've talked about this before in other videos, when I was part of the Young Living MLM multi-level marketing cult, I wasn't, as indoctrinated as the other people, because I was ousted for asking too many questions and then being like, well, screw you. I'm going to become a certified aromatherapist just to prove you wrong. That's the kind of gal I am. So, but from that, I could say, oh, this was a terrible experience and whatnot. But that's how I became a certified aromatherapist. That's how I ended up starting my business. I'm doing okay at the end of the day. I may have pissed off a few, Frappuccino chugging, UGG wearing Karens, but, whatever. Whatever. But other ones, pay attention. So that's what I would say. Be careful who you follow. You don't have to agree with them on everything, but look into their reputation, look into what they're espousing, because, I personally, as part of my platform and as part of my, content creation, personally, I am very much a separation of church and state kind of gal. So I'm also a separation of my business from any socio-political points of view. It has nothing to do with how I run my business. And honestly, as far as it goes, mind your own damn business. I'm not here to influence you on your social political views. Because honestly, I hate talking politics. So, but I don't incorporate that into my spiritual practice. Politics is not spirituality. And that is a huge problem, gestures around at the world we live in. So if that is your thing, separate them. They don't go together. That's a large part of the problem we see gestures around at the world we live in. So anyhow, I'm doing this. I prefer to make my videos very extemporaneously, so I don't do a lot of scripting. At best, I'll maybe make an outline, so bear with me. If you've been watching my videos, you know how I roll. So there's a point in the spiritual seeking process where I like, it's okay to learn from other people. I do it still. I just like to have fresh perspectives. I never am going to assume that I know everything or I've reached some, peak enlightenment and don't have any more work to do, because that's false. So I'm going to learn from people. Because I don't know everything. There's areas where I'm really good at, and then there's areas where I'm not so great, or I need a little work, or I need a little, sometimes it comes down to self-confidence. Like, I don't do a lot of tarot readings because I, for whatever reason, do not have self-confidence to do it. Because it's the argument with my brain where I look at every card and want to memorize it based upon the book or whatever, or just the overall, this is what the Wheel of Fortune card means in every single reading, blah, blah, blah. I want to memorize that and have that. But for some reason, my brain can't wrap around memorizing all that for 72 different cards. Although I can memorize a lot of, herbalism, essential oils, I can tell you all about that shit. But for some reason, the tarot just goes, phew. But you can do intuitive readings. And when I do intuitive readings, I'm really freaking spot on and good at it. I just don't have the self-confidence to do it because my brain is tricking me into thinking I need to go by the book. I need to give you a reading based on what this card traditionally means in the book. So for me, I might take a tarot class just to break through that blockage that I have in my own abilities. Like, I always think my divination abilities and psychic abilities and stuff like that, I'm always like, yeah, I'm full of shit, whatever. I know I'm totally wrong on this. Except for every time I do a reading for someone, I get confirmation that even when I think I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going with this, and it ends up being something that's really relevant for that person, more so than I would have thought. So, because I'm picking up on something and using whatever divinatory tools to, get through that process. So I would say, I'm trying to make these a little shorter. I would say, we're already at the 25 minute here. So what I would say on the spiritual seeking side, we all start somewhere. It's okay to be a sheep. Sometimes we have to follow the herd before we can lead a herd. And we're not all wolves. We're not all born wolves. We're not a lone wolf. We're not a wolf in sheep's clothing. Sometimes we're sheeps that think they're wolves, or sheep that think they're wolves, but they're really just sheep. That's okay. Like, there's a lot of negging about, you always see people, sheeps or snowflakes or this and that. You know what? Fuck them. I really, there's a point in the awakening process where you really kind of get to the point where you really don't care what people think of you. Like maybe some people I would, it's definitely a hierarchical system of giving a crap about who gives a crap about what you have to say. But, you know, whatever your path, seeking spiritual enlightenment is about seeking positive change in your life. And in the previous video I did talking about just sort of the big picture of what is spiritual awakening. There's a lot of, your spiritual awakening can come about naturally. It can come about through, some major life event. It can, just be, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It's there's no one size fits all for how your spiritual awakening is going to unfold is basically what I'm getting at here. So that said, what next? Well, I would say at this point, depending on where you're at in your journey, keep on keeping on, and definitely stay tuned for more videos on this, because I will be talking about, the changes that happen, different, milestones and signposts and things like that. Whether, your ways of seeing, how those change, being connected, more connected, knowing when to question yourself. That's an important one. A lot about ego and ego death. Sort of the purgative aspects of expunging toxicity from your life, because it really does hamper your spiritual ascension. So, and just your understanding of everything, your healing process, all of that. So, and like I said at the beginning, like at current present, my video list on this is about over 30 videos deep at this point. I keep adding more things to it. Sorry. I guess I have a lot to say about spiritual awakening. So I hope you find this video helpful. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Actually, what I want to say is, subscribe to our e-newsletter and follow us on social media, because YouTube algorithms are completely borked right now. So, I mean, I know I'm not getting notifications for anything, even when I click that little shiny notify me button or receive all notifications. No. And I know personally, from what I've seen in my analytics, like as my subscriber count keeps going up and the view count keeps going down. So tell me what's going on here. Like my view count is almost at where it was when I first started this channel almost 4 years ago on most videos. So I'm like, but I have like over 3,000 subscribers. So who knows? It's very broken. So anyways, that's all I have on this part of the spiritual seeking. It'll probably be woven into some other videos too, but I just want to bring you fresh new content and perspectives on things, because having multiple perspectives on things is how you learn to think critically, how you learn discernment and nuance. And we're going to talk about those ones a lot throughout this. And I might do some dedicated videos on those topics, because those are really important. Anyways, thank you. See you guys again.